Hey everyone, I'm Jay.
And I'm Sean.
And we watch movies.
Yes, we do.
And we are looking forward to movies.
Yes, we are.
Particularly Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman 84.
That's right, Wonder Woman 1984. As we are taping this, it is coming out October 2nd.
Hopefully it stays there.
You know what? I don't even know if I'm hoping it stays there, because if it stays there, I likely will not be able to see it. At least not for some time.
It's hard to know what's best.
Yeah, it is. Tenet came out, it made $20 million, which is like $100 million less than it should have.
Yeah, but in this era.
It's not nothing, and if you're a studio and you need money coming in, I mean, it is hard to know what to do, but now kids are back in school, stuff is gonna really start second waving, and in many places, of course, in the US, they never stopped waving.
Yeah.
So it's a tough time for movies. Well, I won't get into this yet because I am doing 84 facts about Wonder Woman for 1984.
All right.
And as we already announced actually in our Mulan giveaway, that we are doing a Wonder Woman giveaway.
That's right.
So you'll have to watch this to see what your prizes are, and hopefully we can get through these 84 facts real quick.
Let's go to try.
Okay, number one, it is PG-13
okay.
for action and violence. Who would have thunk it? I know.
Surprise.
Number two, 2 hours and 31 minutes long.
It's a long movie.
It's a long movie, but it's going to be action-packed, and I think we won't even feel like a few minutes have gone by.
Chris Nolan's Batman movies are all that long or longer.
Yeah. And Tenet sure felt like it.
Yeah.
Okay, so in Wonder Woman 1984, we are going to fight two villains, Maxwell Lord and Barbara Minerva.
The Cheetah.
The Cheetah. Cheetah was first offered to Emma Stone.
Yeah, I guess I can see it, but I think I like Kristen Wiig. I'm interested to see what she does.
Yes. Well, when she declined, it allowed Patty Jenkins to offer it to her first choice.
Kristen Wiig?
Thank you. Don't be spoiling my facts, Sean. No, I'm kidding. So we're just saying that when we are taping this, it has got a release date of October 2nd. Will it hold on to that? We don't know. I will update down below as things change, because they're probably changing right now and I'm not on the internet to see it. This is already the film's 6th release date.
That's crazy. Many
of which happened pre-COVID, so I'll tell you how stupid this was. They originally had a release date of December 20th, 2019. It was going to come out in December 2019. They actually got it done early, so they moved it ahead of schedule to November, because James Bond gave up its slot and they thought we'll get a few extra weeks before Rise of Skywalker. But then something happened and they were like, what are we thinking? The first one did so well in June. It's really a summer blockbuster-y kind of movie. Blockbuster. Let's push it back till June. We want it to come out in June. It did well there last time. Let's do it. I'm sure they're kicking themselves.
Oh yeah, it made sense at the time, but
bad
decision.
Boy, yeah. So it was June, then it was August, now it's October 2nd. As far as we know.
Stick.
Yeah. So Pedro Pascal is playing Maxwell Lord. This is his second Wonder Woman project, because he was in, I don't know if you've heard, David E. Kelley had a Wonder Woman TV show that he was working on. The pilot failed, it didn't get picked up, but Pedro Pascal was going to be on that show.
Interesting.
That's right. I don't know if anybody would know this name or if David E. Kelley made it up, but he was going to be playing Ed in Delicato.
I don't recognize it. Okay.
So, the gold armor. Can we talk about that beautiful
we can.
Golden armor?
Yeah, we can.
So it comes from, it has comics roots, and Patty Jenkins was like pretty insistent that this gets in. First of all, it puts Wonder Woman in pants. Good for her. She's been working, I guess she doesn't have chub rub, because she has been fighting battles in a mini skirt this whole time. And like, I get it. If I was in Amazon, I would make my costumes look like that too, because they are legs for days. But is it always the most practical thing? Maybe not. I'm wearing my Wonder Woman shirt today. I'm also wearing my Wonder Woman underwear. So maybe you want to flash your Wonder Woman underwear. I don't know. Does she buy her own merch? Well, she doesn't have to buy it, probably.
She'd probably get it for free.
So it comes from the Alex Ross graphic novel, Kingdom Come.
Oh, that's a cool one.
Ooh.
Yep, that's a legendary comic book.
So Sarah Paulson wanted to play Cheetah. And you may know I have major love for Sarah Paulson. So I could see that working. I mean, I kind of think she and Kristen Wiig probably have a similar vibe.
Yeah.
So I can definitely see it working. I'm not going to harsh on Kristen Wiig. I haven't seen it yet, but she's looking great in the trailers, and I know she can pull this off. She's pretty versatile.
Yes, she is.
But Sarah Paulson, ooh, that's a hard loss for me.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Can't have both.
Okay.
Well, until the reboot.
True. Diana's tiara is going to be used as a weapon in this film. So if you read comics, you probably know that it can be. In this film, we see her use it as like a boomerang.
Yeah.
Gal Gadot and Kristen Wiig have starred in another movie together. And by starred, I mean they did not star at all. That is Steve Carell and Tina Fey in the movie Date Night.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So Barbara Minerva, you can see a little bit in the trailers. She's often wearing animal print even before she's the cheetah. She wears furs also in the film, which is an homage to the third cheetah, Priscilla Rich. She wore a magical fur cheetah costume. So yes, there have been several cheetahs. Barbara Minerva is probably the most famous, and that's the one we're going with in the movie, or at least that's her name. It kind of seems like she's a little bit of a mix of maybe one or two characters, and that's okay. We'll let it slide, right?
Yeah, well, the movies can kind of draw
they can
from
do
the
whatever
best
they
of
want.
everything.
That's right. And there's a lot. So Zack Snyder has seen the movie. Zack Snyder has remained a producer on a lot of these DCU films. He has seen it. And when he tweeted about it, he used the word amazing 3 times. And you know how many characters you get in a tweet to use the same word that many times? He thinks it's pretty amazing, guys.
Well, there we go.
Yeah. So the first Wonder Woman was set in the First World War. In the comics, it's the second, but they thought Diana, this was like actually the world's first big conflict where we knew what was possible. So they set it then. This one is set, of course, during the Cold War. So that's quite a bit different, isn't it?
It is.
Mm-hmm. Of course, from that first movie, we all presumed Steve Trevor was dead, but he's back.
He's back and he hasn't aged.
And he's wearing a fanny pack.
Yeah.
Robin Wright is also back. So she played Antiope in the first film. She also died in the first film. She's back as well. Producers have had to deny that Maxwell Lord is based on Trump.
Yeah, I mean, I think he kind of predates Trump.
Sure, but not this version of him.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. So they have said that this is kind of a mix of Gordon Gekko from Wall Street and Gene Hackman's old Lex Luthor.
Okay.
So, skeevy businessman.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's him in the
Sounds
comics.
like Trump, but
it
anyways.
does. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Patty Jenkins only signed up for the first film. But almost immediately after it came out, she had an idea for the second one and started working on it with comic book writer Geoff Johns. So they were like inspired right away, and they knew what they wanted to do for this second one. So that's kind of cool.
Geoff Johns is a big deal too at DC.
Mm-hmm. Hans Zimmer, you may know that name. You better know that name.
Of course. Legendary composer.
Yes, a legendary composer who said he was retired from scoring superhero movies after he did Batman vs. Superman, and he was like, I'm out. So it was actually his collaborator who worked on the first Wonder Woman, but he was lured back for number 2. He couldn't stay away, and certainly he did come up with her theme that was in Batman vs. Superman, and he's back for this one. And he even debuted his the first track from the score, Themyscira. You could hear it already, and it is wonderful. Patty Jenkins is actually already working on a third. Now, of course, we just learned how many times this movie has been pushed back. She was done filming in 2018, so she's had quite a delay. And she really wanted to do a trio of movies here, a trilogy, and she wanted to set this one in modern day. But she's had to pause working on it because modern day will need to include this pandemic.
Yeah.
You can't not have it in the movie. So she's like, I have to see, how does it turn out
We all
before you
wanna
can
know.
write?
Yeah.
We do. So she's had to take a pause and see how that goes. But she's also producing a spin-off about the Amazons of Themyscira, and I'm kind of jazzed about that because I did love that about the first movie. I loved seeing that island.
Yep.
I loved seeing all those women training together. It looks cool. So I would totally be into that, whether it's a movie or a series. I think it
Seems
has
better
the
as a
potential to
series.
do a series. Yeah. I'd be way into that. In the first movie, when we do see these women in battle, you may notice that a lot of them have like a kind of a flesh-colored cloth that's draped across their chest. So this is perhaps to emulate the fact that Amazons were often depicted with either an exposed breast in the art, and it is thought that a lot of Amazonians either burned or removed their breasts to be better in battle, and especially for the bow and arrow. So they hint at that with the draped cloths in the movie. So Amazon is actually from the Greek, that means without breasts. So it might have been a thing. Yeah. Of course, in Greco-Roman myth, Amazons don't get along with either Heracles or Hercules, whichever one of those. It's the same guy, because he was said to have seduced Hippolyta, the queen, Wonder Woman's mother, and stole her enchanted belt. Oh, yeah. So it's funny because the two comic book houses dealt with that very differently. In the DC comics, of course, Hercules is a misogynist. He's a villain. But in Marvel, he's the hero. He's actually a best friend of Thor's. Thor, I'm so disappointed in you. And it's the Amazons that are the villains in Marvel.
Because the DC beat them to the punch with Wonder Woman.
Yeah, well, they could have just not have Amazons at all, but no, they had to.
No, they both have to rip off of every mythology that ever existed.
Okay, fine. Patty Jenkins was in talks to direct Wonder Woman in 2005.
Wow.
Yeah, but she stepped down to an unexpected pregnancy. So it has actually been through a lot of iterations since then, and yet it waited for her. That's the crazy thing.
Well, a good move.
Yes, it does turn out. Joss Whedon, was hired to write and direct a version, but he dropped out by 2007. So he had it after she stepped down until 2007. But it goes further back than that, guys. In 1996, Ivan Reitman was hired to write and direct this.
Isn't that weird?
Can you even picture what this would be?
It would have been bad.
I don't know if it would have been bad. I mean, it probably would have been bad.
That wouldn't have worked.
No. But my gosh, what a different world this would be.
Yeah.
Just thinking of what the Batman movies were in the 90s.
That's exactly what I'm thinking of.
What
the
the heck?
90s is a comic book wasteland.
Yeah.
Like, there were no good movies. Well, maybe X-Men started to bring it back. But
Okay.
even those, if you rewatch them, they don't really hold up.
Okay. So Queen Hippolyta, who I love that character, that role was offered first to Nicole Kidman, who had to turn it down because she had scheduling conflicts. She was doing Big Little Lies, the HBO show. So she went on to be Queen Atlanta in Aquaman, which is a huge step down. I'm sorry, but
It's true.
it is. So the role was also offered to Cate Blanchett, who turned it down, and she played Hela in Ragnarok, which was a good role for her.
I think it was.
In 2005, when Patty Jenkins was originally working on this, Angelina Jolie was offered the lead role.
I can see that.
In 2015, when they were trying to bring it back, she was offered the director's chair instead. So those 10 years, maybe not as kind to her as she thought. Yeah, so it wasn't until after so many iterations it landed back in Patty Jenkins' lap, who only had this one kind of indie movie under her belt at the time. So it is crazy that she landed this huge thing. But obviously, it was a super good move. Yeah. So Wonder Woman made her first comic book appearance in 1941. She does go way back.
Oh, she does. She's been around as long as Batman and Superman.
Yeah, and has been published continuously, except for there's a brief little pause in 1986, and that's it.
Yeah, in 1986
Luckily
there was
not
a reset
84.
in DC.
Okay. I was reading through this stuff, and there's craziness in DC. There's pre-crisis and after
it was Crisis on
and I was
Infinite Earths. It was 1986.
Excuse me? Okay.
Yeah.
What the hell? These guys take themselves seriously.
Yeah, they do.
Woo! So she was created, you may know, by Dr. William Moulton Marston. So you may know this because there was a movie about Marston.
Yes, there was, about his life.
Yes.
Well, not just his, I think.
No, that's right. And we will get to that. But anyways, so the psychologist Marston and the artist Harry G. Peter. But Marston based it on his wife Elizabeth and their life partner Olive. So they lived in a throuple. And he was really into strong, smart women. He really believed that women were actually supposed to be ruling the world. And so he created Wonder Woman to remind women that, you should really probably be running things.
Yeah, which is pretty radical in 1941.
Certainly, that's right. And so Wonder Woman rubbed some people wrong, but she was a feminist icon from the beginning. And she was based on early feminists, like birth control pioneer Margaret Sanger. In fact, she wields the lasso of truth, and I kind of loved this. I didn't really realize it, but Marston was one of the inventors of the lie detector.
So that's really cool, yeah.
And it's kind of a funny thing. The lasso of truth, of course, is not a lie detector. It prevents you from telling lies.
Yep.
And so to him, it wasn't meant to be a lie detector. He thought it was a kind of a symbol for feminine charms and how you could use that to disarm men and compel them to do your bidding. So there you go. It was meant to be allegorical. People took it a little literally, which they do. But anyways, he was trying to tell women, own your power.
Yeah.
Get what you want. But she also wore bracelets of submission. So he did, he was a little bit, I don't want to say fetishistic, people did interpret it that way. But he wanted to tell women, you can be strong and also still be sexual. And both of those things are okay and can exist in a woman. But there's a lot of bondage imagery in what he started with her. And so wearing these cuffs, which gave her power when she wielded them, but she could also have her power removed by being shackled. So it was a double-edged sword for her. So of course, this was inspired again by the Greek women who were bound by the wrists by men. When they broke free, they founded their own women's only island.
Well, why not?
That's right. And they grew much stronger. But they wore bracelets to remind themselves what would happen if they let men back into their lives. They would be sapped of their power. Yeah. So October 21st is the day that we have set aside as Wonder Woman Day.
Okay.
Who knew?
Who knew there was a Wonder Woman Day?
That's right. So in 2017, they actually celebrated it early, in June, in fact, on the day it was released in theaters. So I haven't heard if they are planning on doing it this time, and they may be waiting to see if Wonder Woman 1984 ever really settles on a date, period, because who knows. Gloria Steinem bought into this Wonder Woman as a feminist thing so much, she put her on the cover of the very first issue of Ms. Magazine. In 2015, she became the first superhero to officiate a gay wedding.
Okay.
In a comic series. Yeah. In 2016, the UN named her an honorary ambassador for the empowerment of women and girls.
Makes sense.
Not in a comic book, in real
life.
The real UN did this. They end up having to roll that back because people thought, oh, she's a barely clad whatever. But of course, that was before the movie came out, and people woke up to what real feminism is about. It's not about tearing people down or telling them what kind of woman they can't be. It's saying you could be any kind of woman you want, and that's okay. That's what feminism is, guys. So Steve Trevor. Mysterious Steve Trevor. Mysterious. Well, he is mysterious. He lands... Well, he doesn't land. He crash lands in the water dressed as a German soldier. So he's like in disguise when we meet him. He's also the first foreigner to set foot on the island of Themyscira.
I did not know that.
Yeah. He's also, of course, the first man Diana has ever seen. Of course, Patty Jenkins felt she had to work in that little nude scene just to pay back a little bit of all of the nude scenes in every other movie that go the other way. He, in fact, has been made an honorary citizen by Queen Hippolyta because, of course, Aphrodite's law states that any man who steps foot on the island should be put to death. So she worked quick around that loophole. Yep. She has made only 2 other men honorary citizens. Can you guess who they are?
Superman and Batman?
That's right. Less worthy choices, I think. In the comics, Barbara Minerva is an archaeologist. And she is interested in Diana's lasso as sort of an ancient artifact. That's how they start their relationship. And then she becomes the cheetah she becomes the cheetah when she's researching an African tribe that has a female guardian who has cheetah powers. And so she takes them over when she dies. It's a kind of a thing. In the 1 year later storyline, she and Lex Luthor and the Joker start the Injustice League. Ooh. I mean, first of all, let's have an intervention right now. That is not a spin-off movie we want or need to see. No. I think it is a bad idea. Jared Leto, sit down. In the Justice League animated series, she's a scientist who runs out of funding, so she has to test her thing on herself.
Oh, never a good idea, scientist.
Yeah, so she ends up muting into a human-cat hybrid. So in the first one, she's an archaeologist who gets like mystical powers. Magical. The second one, she's a scientist who mutates herself. In this movie, she's called Dr. Minerva. She may work at the same museum where Wonder Woman is working. We know she is a curator. It seems like Dr. Minerva is a gemologist. So she gains her abilities from a mystical curse. So, is this kind of a hybrid character? Maybe it is.
Maybe.
We won't know for sure until we see it. This was a long 6-month shoot because it starts in England. Actually, Warner Brothers has a big studio there. It shot a lot in DC, Northern Virginia, and then it went over to Spain in Andalusia and the Canary Islands, and then landed back in England again.
Covered a lot of ground.
So that is a long 6-month shoot, yeah. The Wonder Woman movies are not shown in Lebanon because Gal Gadot, as you know, or you may know, is an Israeli citizen, and she has served in the Israel Defense Forces. So Lebanon,
yeah, they're not
is not up with that.
Yeah.
So Pedro Pascal, as we said, plays Maxwell Lord. He is a character from the comic books. Patty Jenkins describes him as the king of infomercials. In the comics, he has mind control powers.
That's right.
So is he using television to use those powers? Certainly we see him in his commercials, even in the trailer. So it seems to be an important part. Maxwell, Lord, and the Cheetah seem to have teamed up also. We get that impression from the trailer. I don't know if that has comic precedence, but it seems like they might be a little bit playing on the same team here.
Yeah, I think they're probably going to have to at some point. They're both against Wonder Woman, that's what we know.
Yeah. Even though they start out, Barbara and Diana start out as friends of some sort. Like they are friends somehow, and yet Barbara seems to be jealous of her.
Well, who wouldn't be jealous of Diana?
I mean, right. Sorry, sir.
Well.
Yes. Now, if I turn into a panther tonight, you'll know why. Because of Barbara's insecurities that are probably male-inflicted, let's face it.
Yep.
So that may play a part in her transformation, because she does tell us that she wants to be an apex predator, and it is her turn. Bitch. They cut that part out, but I'm sure it's there. It's implied. The tone implies it. And I know a bitch tone when I hear it. Lilly Aspell is the little girl who played young Diana in the first film, and she is back for this one.
Oh, that's good.
So we know we are going to be seeing Themyscira and Diana in flashback scenes. In fact, we do see her in the trailer briefly, and she seems to be doing like a big sort of race or something in a huge arena. And I read stuff in the comics about how there was like a huge race or contest to see who would bring Steve Trevor back to man's world, which Diana wasn't supposed to compete in, and then she did and won. But this can't be that, because this is a very young Diana. So we don't know what it is, but it's kind of exciting. So I think it's weird, because obviously we know that Diana has aged from little girl to woman, but she has not aged at all in the 70 years between these two films. I don't really know exactly how this aging thing works. It's kind of funny. But she is the daughter of Zeus, and Zeus is supposed to be immortal, so she's got some form of immortality, I guess.
I think so.
She looks pretty darn good.
Yeah.
So we know she's at least like 90, but she could be as much as 1,000 years old.
Oh, she could be very old.
Comics,
yeah, absolutely. She, could have been living since the ancient Greece.
Mm-hmm. So Wonder Woman, the first Wonder Woman, was a real boon to the DCU, which had been floundering from some time.
Oh yeah, it's the first great DC movie, and maybe only great DC movie.
Yeah. So it made a lot of money, but it also got critical praise. And one of the reasons why people thought was because Patty Jenkins really made sure to keep her in kind of grounded, realistic situations. This is a Wonder Woman who is working with people, real people in a real war. Whereas even in the MCU, these are all just like superheroes against supervillains, and it's working okay in the MCU. It has not been working in the DCU.
It hasn't, and that's unfortunate in the DCU. And I should say, like, Chris Nolan's Batman movies are good, but I wasn't really counting those because they weren't supposed to be part of this shared universe.
No, they're not. And people producers on this film are backing away from notions of the shared universe even now.
I think
they want to untie Wonder Woman from that.
Yeah, I think they're not alone. I think DC has realized, like, you can't tie this all together when you're having you're on like the third Joker and the second Batman, and it's kind of a mess.
It is kind of.
And Wonder Woman has stood head and shoulders above all of that.
So it's untying itself from the universe, but it's also not calling itself a sequel. Patty Jenkins thinks of this as its own standalone movie, kind of like in the James Bond franchise, where it might be Daniel Craig in several movies, but they rarely like reference each other. You know, it's its own kind of little sealed bubble.
I like that.
Yes. Although, like, Steve Trevor comes back and they know each other, so there's a little cross.
Yeah, I think that's, you have to acknowledge what's come before when you're going to have the same actors in it. But yeah, let's not dwell on it.
Okay, you're all right with that.
I'm okay with that.
Okay. So anyways, as I was saying about Diana being really part of the real world, because of that, like when you watch Aquaman, you know that is 98% CGI. This is a lot of practical effects, practical makeup, practical costumes. Even in this one, the cheetah, there's a lot of makeup. Kristen Wiig is not just wearing a blue suit all the time on set. They did add some CGI elements to flesh it out, but they made her up. She looked like a cheetah even on set.
That's a good thing.
Yes. Well, they think that's part of her appeal. Yeah. So in the trailer, and if you're anything like me, you have memorized every glorious second of it. She and Steve are sitting in the cockpit of a jet. Is it invisible? We don't know, but we haven't seen the outside of it, have we? Is there even an outside of it? We don't know.
I don't know.
Signs point to probably not, since she makes a comment about radar, and of course, her invisible jet
would not show up on radar.
Wouldn't be a concern. And I know during the first one, people asked about where is her infamous jet, and Patty Jenkins felt like it's a little silly.
It's a lot silly
to put in these movies.
Yeah.
So unless she could really work it in and make it a thing, she didn't want to just have it there because people are expecting it. You know, in the TV show, you see her like, for some reason, the pilot is not invisible.
No, that's
just
right.
The jet.
You can just see Wonder Woman.
You know,
it doesn't make any sense.
Yes, but we have seen in other movies, and I think even in the Spider-Man movie, where like a plane has sort of reflective panels.
It wasn't Spider-Man, that's right.
Some kind of camouflage. Yeah. So you could work it in. Will it be in this movie? Is that the jet they're in? Only time will tell.
Oh, can't she fly anyway?
That's the thing.
Why does she
clearly
need a jet?
has gained powers between the first movie and this movie, right? Yeah. That's what she's, I don't know what kind of training she's been doing stealthily on Earth, but it's something. Because I think we see her like lasso a lightning bolt.
Yes, she is.
Whoa, baby.
That's cool.
Although Zeus is like the god
of lightning.
Yeah, so I guess she has it in her blood, but she wasn't sure of that in the first film. We didn't see any of that, and it might have come in handy.
Yeah. Well, she definitely has had an evolution in the comic books where the notion of her as a god is a fairly new one. That was not part of the original mythos of Wonder Woman.
Okay.
I think that does come in like in the reset in the 80s.
Okay. Interesting. So she is the daughter of Zeus. She's at least a demigod. What's up with Steve Trevor though? What's his excuse for popping up in the 80s also unaged?
Yeah.
What's up with that?
After he died.
Also a surprise. Yes. So when I was saying Maxwell Lord, we saw a little bit of an infomercial or TV commercial he does, and he promises that if you come into his mall, shoppers will get anything they want. Well, what if that's what Diana wished for? Maybe she threw a penny in a fountain and wished for Steve.
Maybe
that's what happens. Because we see Maxwell Lord also grasping onto crystals, like amber crystals. So fans have a couple of theories as to what those may be, and we don't know for sure. Everyone on the set is very tight-lipped about exactly what the plot is here.
Yeah, we don't know a lot at all, do we?
But the trailer itself even gives us a lot of shots of watches. So we know in the first one, before he died, Steve gave her his pocket watch. Well, it was really a wristwatch, but it was a pocket watch he wore on his wrist because that wasn't even a thing yet. So we see shots of that. When he reappears, he hands her a digital watch. Disgusting, I know. But we see lots of shots of watches. So it feels like time is kind of a thing. Is there time travel? We don't know. But it's a thing. So let's keep our eyes peeled for that. Maxwell Lord is, of course, the physical embodiment of like 80s greed and excess. But the one thing we know about capitalism is that everything has a price. So if Diana were making wishes that were then surprisingly granted, what kind of price will be extracted from her?
Yes.
That's a little worrisome.
It is.
So Another thing I think we have to really think about is, why is it set in 1984 specifically? It could be, if you wanted to do the 80s, and good for you, Patty Jenkins. This is actually a celebration of the decade, I think. I don't think they're like lampooning the 80s. I think they're living it.
They should.
But why 1984 specifically? Well, if you had graduated from high school, you probably know of a little book that George Orwell wrote called 1984. And like I said, we do in the trailer see Diana in a shopping mall take out what looks like a surveillance camera with her tiara. And we do see Maxwell Lord sort of controlling what looks to be a big satellite. So one of his storylines in the comics does involve him reprogramming, and I should say stealing and reprogramming, a monitoring system called Brother Eye.
Oh, like Big Brother.
That's, yeah, a little Orwellian. Where did he get it from? Batman. Batman. Why did you have this Batman?
Batman has everything.
I know, and they always fall into the wrong hands. Hello, stop.
Come on, Batman.
Inventing these things. So, of course, he installs it on every computer, and it's going to be this big, horrible thing. What I think is interesting, though, is, and again, how does this universe exist altogether? But when Batman is bringing everybody together, he says to Diana, like, you have been gone for 100 years, you've been missing. So that's like since that First World War, she has been missing. This seems like a pretty high profile thing in the 80s. So what happens for her to still be operating under the radar?
Well, maybe everything resets in 1986 like the comic books did.
Maybe so. So I mentioned there were lots of Washington, D.C. locations where they were filming. The trailer, I think, sort of hints at a battle in the White House itself. Ooh, what's that about? I can't wait to find out.
Yeah.
Diana is told that if she leaves Themyscira, she can't come back, which is a really big sacrifice to make for humans that she's never even met.
Yes, it is.
If she thought they were all like Steve Trevor, she was in for a big disappointment. But we get to go back through these flashback scenes, which is kind of unfair to her.
Well, she was there.
Yes, and it does seem like she's had some sort of contact, because if she has all that gold armor, in the comics at least, it is her mother who makes that for her. And that is meant for waging war. This is serious armor that she would only take out if she was going against a really serious foe.
Well, she is, clearly.
And like, the Nazis weren't enough. And Ares, the god of war in the first movie, wasn't enough. This is when she breaks it out. So
the stakes have been raised.
Yeah.
But just because she can't go back doesn't mean her mom can't send her stuff.
I guess they had UPS even in the 80s. So this is her golden eagle armor. So it is forged on Themyscira by Hippolyta. And yeah, she's breaking that out. You know it's serious. And it has wings.
So she can
that's
doubly
a thing.
fly.
Who does need an invisible jet, I guess, when you can sail on gold.
Yep.
Pure gold. Okay, so we talked about the crystals, those amber crystals. So theory number one, is this an OMAC? So that is an omni, mind, and community. So that is basically his mind control. Or is it a chaos shard? So again, in the comics, those supposedly augment the powers of whoever is holding them and have the ability to grant wishes. So is that the means by which he has brought Steve Trevor back? And how is he going to extract the price? Oof. I think either way, they're probably bad news for Wonder Woman.
Definitely.
I think that's what it comes down to. Also bad news for Wonder Woman, that fanny pack. Oh my gosh. Oh. And I'm sorry to any Brits watching. I know that is a bad word for you. They call them bum bags. Fine. It doesn't matter what you call them, they're hideous. Actually, like, very haute couture houses are trying to bring them back even now by calling them belt bags, but we know that they are fanny packs. Don't try to tell me. Just by charging $3,000 for them doesn't make them cool. Perhaps it was Steve Trevor who made them cool, because they weren't cool in the 80s. They got cool in the 90s, actually. They were invented in the 80s, so it wasn't impossible for him to have one. But that guy might have just been ahead of his time.
He might have been ahead of his time and
also
far
way
removed
behind. Yeah,
exactly.
Yes. So there's actually no official word on the soundtrack, which people are really wondering about, because that first trailer used the New Order's
Blue Monday.
Very
awesome,
good.
Awesome song.
Yeah. So people are like, what is this? Is this going to have a soundtrack? Certainly, Suicide Squad, some of the big DCU movies have been soundtracked to death, basically, with a lot of hits. And because of when the first one was set, we didn't really get to see that. So how much of the 80s are they going to embrace? We can't wait to find out, but they are tight-lipped. There's not a word yet on it. So when we first met her in our 1918, whatever it is for her, she was really very surprised by what she found in England, by the sort of gender norms and the social constraints that she was not used to in her society, but also the greed and the lust for power. If she thought it was bad in 1918, imagine what the 80s are going to be like for her.
That was what the 80s were all about.
Yes, she is no longer a fish out of water. She has apparently been living in the world of man this whole time.
So she's seen the progression.
She has seen it. She has lived in this culture for some time now. And she has gotten more powerful, and I think, judging by the trailer, more playful, but also very lonely. And of course, if you are friends with anyone and you are immortal, you're going to see all of your friends die, starting with Steve Trevor. But I mean, it would really make you not want to be close to anyone, because you're going to inevitably lose them. And yet to live 70 years completely isolated is rough. And what does that do to a girl?
Yeah.
So in this movie, Steve Trevor reappears, and now he's the fish out of water, right? He doesn't even know what art is or what fashion is. And he doesn't have the advantage. He was showing her the ropes in the last one. He was already a soldier spy. In this one, he's just a dude. He's just a dude who has no useful 80s skills and no sense of what the world has been like. So they're kind of reversing their roles a little bit. Of course, it was his self-sacrifice that made Diana realize that maybe humanity was not all bad. Maybe they were worth saving, and that's why she stuck around. If he is back from the dead, or if he never died in the first place and has been living in a time without time, I don't know if that undoes anything from the previous film.
He's still a good guy.
I guess he is, and she does seem awfully happy to see him. Although, is that just because she's been horny for 70 years? Like, has she learned any new tricks in the bedroom? I'm not saying she was a virgin when she met him. I think there was a lot of lesbian action going on in a world without men, so she was probably used to having fun. But there's some new equipment to get used to. And you assure me there was a sex scene in the first. I blanked on it somehow.
Yeah, there totally was.
I'm disappointed in myself. Yeah. But anyways, if it's been 70 years for both of them, give them a room and give it quick. So producer Anna Abrupta has called the Themyscira whatever games that I was referring to earlier. We just see the young Diana in an arena. She's calling it the Amazon Olympics, but she's comparing it to American Ninja Warrior meets Cirque du Soleil.
Sounds fun.
It does sound fun. It does seem like actually probably a pretty big chunk of the movie must be devoted to this for them to have gone to so much trouble, because there's a series of events apparently in this competition.
It must have some relevance. What's it gonna be?
Yeah. So while Steve is living that sweet tracksuit life, Diana has a wonderful 80s wardrobe, including at least one outfit that seems almost a direct, like identical to one that Linda Carter wore in the series, which was airing at the time that this movie is set. So that seems like a nice little homage. Does that mean she will finally make a cameo in this movie? Because she was approached for the last one, and she was doing her own, like she has a cabaret show. She couldn't make it. Will we see Linda Carter?
I hope so.
It would be nice.
It would be nice.
It would be nice. In the invisible jet?
I mean...
She could be the invisible valet girl? Who knows?
Sure.
Anyways, Sean has not shown you any of the prizes somehow.
No.
Even though we did talk a little bit about Diana's beautiful golden armor. So I really, when I saw that in the trailer, it was like a breathtaking moment for me. I was really into that. So the Funko Pop is from the 84 movie. It's Wonder Woman in her beautiful golden armor. Then we have, that's Steve Trevor. In a tracksuit. He's wearing the fanny pack, guys. So this is actually his own little graphic novel. Get to know the guy that Wonder Woman loves. And then, of course, because I'm a huge sticker nerd, we have some greeting cards and some stickers for Wonder Woman. I think especially during like quarantine and lockdown, sending good old-fashioned mail is such a nice thing to do for somebody. I love getting mail, but I also send like a crazy amount of mail. Ask the guy who goes to the post office.
You send more than you receive, and you receive a fair bit.
Yes. Most of what I receive, I send to myself. Well, that sounds sadder than it is. Well, I mean, like, I order things. I don't mean I write stuff. Dear Jay, nobody loves you. Here's a sticker. No, I appease myself with expensive subscription boxes. But anyways, if you would like to be in the Wonder Woman 1984 giveaway, it is a free contest. It is open internationally. Let us know in the comments. You've got to write enter me so we know, and you have to be subscribed to our channel, so please have open subscriptions. And that's about it. Anything to add, Sean?
I don't think there could possibly be anything to add. You covered so much.
And did we do it in less than 84 minutes?
I think so.
I think so too. Wow. I'm good.
Good job.
It took me a long time, man.
Yes.
84. But anyways, now you are fully prepped to go into this movie. You've got all the fan theories, all of the background, you know, that a girl like me who loves a feminist icon but isn't a comic book reader, I am now fully versed. I feel like I can legitimately be there now.
You were allowed to be there before.
Well, I was, and I cried. Yeah. I cried during the first one. It was lovely. Good job, Patty Jenkins. We love you. And so thanks for everyone who joins us. We really appreciate all the support. Please enter the giveaway. You could be like Karen, who won last time, but yes, you are still eligible to participate. Love you, everyone. Bye.